Instagram. We're waiting for oh, we lost the signal. Okay. Instagram, please be patient. I'm in a hotel room. Are you sure when to end your broadcast? All right, we're live. Okay, terrific. All right, everybody. How are you? And hello from San Francisco. I'm Mel Robbins, and this is Mindset Reset. It is a month-long free, no strings attached training program to help you learn the science and the simple tools that you can use to reset your negative beliefs, to crush self-doubt, to stop trashing yourself in your mind, to get a hold of your stress, to even cure yourself of anxiety, and to build a positive mental game. Because when you win the mental game, your entire life will change. In fact, if you learn how to change how you think, you'll change your life. If you're not a part of Mindset Reset, just go to melrobbins.com/mindset reset. So that's melrobbins.com/mindset reset. If you are already signed up, thank you for being a part of this. We've got more than 200,000 people from around the world who are taking part in this free game-changing program. I hope you're enjoying it. If you are, give us a thumbs up. Please tell us in the comments where you are watching from. We are in the middle of Anxiety Week, and we call it Anxiety Week because one of the major things that you're dealing with, or that people in your life are dealing with, is a rise in generalized anxiety. And today we're going to be talking about anchor thoughts. We are building on what we've already covered. We're going to be talking about the life-changing impact of using anchor thoughts. And if you are just watching this video as the first video that you've ever watched in the Mindset Reset series, no worries. You're not behind. There's nothing there's no test. There's nothing to ace here. You're not in competition with anybody. You can take a deep breath and realize that you're watching this video for a reason. And I'm going to cover something in this video that will change your life. And if you would like to see all the other videos that I refer to, just go to our YouTube channel, go to our Facebook page, search for the hashtag Mindset Reset. You will find our videos. We are on day 15, and we are on day number 3 of Anxiety Week. So we've already covered the connection between worrying and anxiety, and how anxiety begins with the things that you're thinking about. And that then agitates your body, and then your habit of worrying, along with how your body's agitated, becomes a recipe for disaster. And so all anxiety that I talk about, when you have generalized anxiety, all anxiety begins and ends with you changing your thinking patterns. That's how you're going to get control of this. Yes, that was video 13. Video 14, which was yesterday, is all about triggers. And we asked you to go through your day, and from the moment you wake up to the moment that you go to bed, to identify the things that trigger you. Is it thinking about walking into work? Is it 5 o'clock at night when the lights start to dim outside and people are coming home from your family, or your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife is coming home and there's conflict, and that is triggering you to remember things from your childhood? What are the triggers? It's super important to identify the triggers that trigger you to start to worry or trigger your body to start to feel agitated, because then we can create what's called an A-B plan. And that's exactly what we're going to do today for all the triggers that you wrote down. So again, if you want to get the daily emails and have us summarize all of this and send you links to all the videos, just go to melrobbins.com/mindset reset. So let's jump into the training. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do training today on something called anchor thoughts. And then I am going to end the training, and I'm going to spend a bunch of time answering the questions that we've been getting about anxiety, about worries, about triggers. Many of you can't remember what happened to you. We've talked about asking yourself this powerful question if you suffer from anxiety: what happened to you in your childhood that you survived? or that you endured that has programmed you to believe certain things and behave in certain ways. And for many of you, you're like, I don't know. We're going to answer that question, but let's get into the training for anchor thoughts right now. Hold on one second. So what is an anchor thought? An anchor thought is a extremely powerful and proven way for you to take control of what you're thinking about when your mind starts to spiral. And an anchor thought is any thought that makes you excited, happy. Think positive emotions here. I'm going to give you examples, don't worry. An anchor thought is something that you have predetermined and planned in advance that you're going to go to in your mind and picture. This is like a form of visualization in a situation where normally you feel anxiety. And you're going to use this practice of having a predetermined anchor thought in situations that make you nervous or anxious to go to as a method to anchor yourself down, to calm down your body, and to take control of what you're thinking about in situations that normally make you anxious. So let me give you a couple examples of what an anchor thought is and why you want to do them before a situation. So you can use anchor thoughts for everything from anchoring yourself in a positive vision as you're getting out of bed and thinking about the day ahead. And instead of letting your worries, anxiety, overwhelm, and nerves about dealing with your boss or facing the conflict in your house or whatever it may be, hijack your mind, you're going to anchor yourself in something positive and exciting about today. And if you can't think of anything positive and exciting about today, I'm going to coach you through that. Don't worry. If you have anxiety about work, you're going to anchor down on a moment from your past or a moment that you're excited about in your future that made you happy or excited. If you have anxiety about school, I want you to think about a thing about school that you like. One person, one teacher, one moment in your past where you did really good because you put in the effort and you got a really good grade on a test, or you felt really excited about what you were learning. And your anchor thought is going to be, I'm so excited to feel that way again. I'm going to give you a very specific example now. So I use anchor thoughts to deal with. I used to be an incredibly nervous flyer. I was convinced that if I got on a plane, I was going to die in a plane crash. And for the entire week leading up to getting on a plane, I would be nervous about it. I would be thinking about it. I would be thinking about sending, like if we were going away for the holidays, I would be thinking about sending the presents ahead via the mail in case the plane crashed. I'd be doing all kinds of I was like a nutcase about this. And so the way that I started using anchor thoughts in order to change the way that I thought and felt on a plane is this. I would think about, before I got on a plane, I would think about something that I was excited to do once I got to the place that I was flying to. So for example, tomorrow I am flying to Vegas, and I'm going to think about a particular restaurant that I love in Vegas, and I'm going to think about what I'm going to order when I get to that restaurant, and I'm going to think about how delicious it's going to taste, and this person, my friend Mo, that I'm going to see. And so I've got my anchor thought, which makes me happy and excited, what I'm going to do when I get to Vegas. And when I get on that plane, and if I start to get nervous and my stomach starts to rumble and my body starts to feel anxious and my thoughts start to spiral, I immediately start saying to myself, I am so excited to get to Vegas and to go to that restaurant and to see my friend Mo. And notice I'm closing my eyes because I'm visualizing it. And I'm visualizing how happy I'm going to be when I see her. And that very specific, positive, excited, happy visualization of what I'm going to do when I get to Vegas. It settles my body, having that in my mind. It focuses my mind on something positive. And by using an anchor thought to weigh me down in terms of weigh down what I'm thinking about, and direct my body sensations to be positive, something crazy happens. When the plane's flying and we hit turbulence, and normally I'd be like, oh my God, we're about to die. Oh, what's happening? What's happening? I interrupt that anxiety response and that worry, and I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, using the 5-second rule, and awakening my prefrontal cortex. And then I literally just go, I'm so excited to be at that restaurant tonight to see my friend Mel. And here's what happens in my body. By taking control of my thinking, I change my body state. I've directed my thoughts. I've won the mental game. And my mind goes, oh, yeah, she's excited. And here's what's really interesting about it. Normally, if I were on a plane and I got nervous, the plane starts to bounce, right? So what happens? Immediately your mind starts to worry. Then your body starts to feel anxious because your mind is so busy worrying about whether or not the plane makes it. And then because your body is now starting to get anxious and you got a pit in your stomach and your armpits are starting to sweat and your heart is starting to race, the body sensations that were caused by your mind thinking worries are now getting worse, and now the worries get worse. So it becomes this self-fulfilling thing. And you actually make yourself miserable. You cause the anxiety from your thoughts. And then your body, in the anxiety response, then causes your thoughts to get even worse. And it becomes worse and worse and worse until you're hyperventilating or convinced you're going to die, or you start crying, or whatever it may be. You can interrupt that and win the mental game and take control. I'm not kidding you, by deciding to. And you can say, I'm 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm not going to think about dying right now. And first of all, it's not going to help. I mean, I'm not flying the plane, so I'm going to take control of what I'm thinking about so I'm not miserable as we're flying. And drop in the anchor thought. Anchoring you down. Even the word anchoring has a strength to it. Instead of your thoughts drifting all over the place, you're anchoring down and you're making your mind do exactly what you want it to do. And what I want it to do is to think about what I'm excited about when I get to Vegas. Because here's the thing about it. If I go to that restaurant and I see my friend Mo, obviously the plane made it. And so one of the other things that's powerful about an anchor thought is because your anchor thoughts relate to what you're doing, it makes sense to your brain, so your brain believes it. So going back to the example of work, think of a moment when you were proud. School, think of a moment when you were proud. And tell yourself, I'm excited to feel that way again, or I'm excited to do well on this test, or I'm excited to learn what I'm going to learn, or I'm excited to have this conversation with my professor, or get this test over with and feel good again. And because the anchor thought that you're creating is related to what you're doing, it is going to make sense to your brain. Your body will settle. You're going to get control of your mind. And that is how you win the mental game. You notice when your thoughts drift. You notice when the worries are starting. And you, boom, cut it off with an anchor thought. Let me give you another example, and then we're going to go into questions. Because what I want you to do for every single trigger you have, we had you yesterday in video 14 go through your day and come up with every single trigger that triggers your thoughts to spiral to the negative. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use the power and the science of anchor thoughts, something that we can think of that you can anchor down on that is positive, happy, exciting, encouraging, about somehow related to the thing that's triggering you. And I'm going to walk you through some examples. I want to give you another one, though, for those of you that have kids that are watching. So when my son, our son was younger, he used to be completely anxious about sleepovers. There was just something about sleepovers that really freaked him out. And so before sleepovers, we would come up with an anchor thought that was related to the sleepover itself. So what are you excited to do in the morning. Now, notice I said the morning. The reason why we would always do the mornings is because he wasn't nervous about starting the sleepover. He was nervous about completing it. So we came up with an anchor thought that was about what he was excited to be doing in the morning. Were they going to make pancakes? Were they going to lay around and play Fortnite? And that anchor thought about what made him excited about what he was going to do in the morning, it was his go-to. So as we were driving over and he'd start to look at me and go, I don't know, Mom, I'm a little nervous. I'm like, great, let's go to the anchor thought. And he's like, okay, here we go. I'm really excited to have pancakes because she makes great pancakes. Great, that's great. And then all of a sudden his body stations would drop down. The other thing that I would recommend that you do with kids is come up with the anchor thought for all the things that trigger them and also come up with a plan B. So a plan B is, okay, so you've got your anchor thought, my dear. You're excited about the pancakes. If it's 9 o'clock at night and you start to get that rumbling feeling in your stomach and you start to get worried about being at the sleepover, no problem. You're going to use your anchor thought, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm so excited for pancakes in the morning. And that's going to settle your stomach, and it's also going to distract your thoughts and direct them and anchor them. And that should start to take care of the rumbling feelings in your stomach. And that should start to take care of the things that are making you nervous. And then what we're going to do is you're also going to have a plan B. So with our son, for example, and this is important with anxiety, always go to the worst case scenario and plan out, okay, so let's say the worst case scenario happens. Let's say you decide you can't make it through the night. No problem. Just call me and I'll come get you. So that you're taking away worries. If you have to talk to your boss and you got your anchor thought, you're really excited. Here's another thing. If you obsess about getting fired, you obsess about being made wrong, come up with like your plan B, which is like, okay, I've got my thing. I'm so excited to go in there. I'm so excited to actually say what I need to say. I'm so excited for the situation to change. I'm so excited to make a difference with my work. And my ultimate plan B, let's say I get fired tomorrow for speaking what I speak. What's the first thing I'm going to do? What's my plan if that happens? I'm going to collect my stuff. I'm going to say goodbye to my friends. And I'm going to go home. And I'm going to look for a job. That's what's going to happen. Because if you go to the worst case scenario and you make a plan for what you're going to do, it's another way to sort of backstop your mind from catastrophizing. All right. That's a whole lot of information. And I'm going to now scroll through to some of the questions. Let's see. We've gotten a number of questions based on the trainings that we did in the beginning of the anxiety week that I want to address. And if you haven't watched video 13 or video 14, either get yourself signed up for melrobbins.com/mindset reset and we'll send you a link to the whole playlist, or go to YouTube, our YouTube channel, and just look at the most recent videos and you'll see very clearly on the thumbnails what's video 13 and what's video 14. So one of the things that we've already covered is that there's a really tremendous connection between worrying and the anxiety that you feel in your body. And in case you missed it, I want to be clear that worrying are the negative thoughts, right? That's a habit, to drift to the negative, to think about the negative things, to think about things that are beyond your control. Anxiety is when your body starts to feel like something's up. So it could be an upset stomach, it could be armpit sweating, it could be your heart racing, it could be your throat tightening, it could be clammy hands. And the thing about physical sensations like that is that for many of you, they scare you. So you get a little bit of butterflies in your stomach and you assume that it's a sign that something's wrong. And because of the butterflies in your stomach or because of your armpit sweating, you immediately start to think, uh-oh, something's wrong. And then your mind goes bananas. And one of the things that I want you to understand is that this connection between your mind and body is super tight. And that's why it's really important for you to get serious about learning how to win the mental game. Because if your thoughts start to spiral, it's going to be a disaster for what's going on in your body. It's going to be a disaster for how you respond to situations. And this is the moment where you need to learn to take control. That's number one. So one of the things that we told you to do after explaining the connection between worry and anxiety, worry being your negative thoughts, anxiety being the physical distress that you feel in your body, is we then asked you in video 14 to go through and look at all the triggers in your life. And one of the ways that you can start to distinguish all the things that you worry about and the things that trigger you is to ask yourself this question: what happened to you? Did you grow up in a household where your parents were on edge, and so consequently as a kid, in order to endure that, you were always really quiet? You never spoke up because when people spoke up, they got in trouble. You tried to fly under the radar screen, and now that you're an adult, you can't understand why you have such trouble speaking up and anxiety around it. And there were a lot of you that said that you couldn't figure out what had happened. And here's what I want you to understand. My philosophy about human beings is that when we're kids, we develop strategies as 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds in order to fit in and in order to make sure that our parents love us. And those strategies tend to work when we're little. So an example that I gave yesterday is, maybe you had a parent that drank too much, and when they came home at 5 o'clock, that's when the bottles started to open, and that's when the arguments started to happen. And now as an adult, you can't understand why around 5 o'clock you get a little tense. Or you can't understand why, when your partner or spouse starts to drink, it puts you on edge, even though they're not abusive or they're not a yeller. Well, the reason why is, as a kid, what happened to you is you started to see this pattern and you started to realize, holy cow, the you-know-what hits the fan at 5, 6 o'clock at night, and so I get really quiet then, or I hide them. And now you can't understand why you behave the way that you do. Well, for those of you that can't figure out what happened to you that helped you develop the patterns that you have now that you're stuck with and you're frustrated by, I think a lot of you are getting really stuck because you're looking for big traumatic things. And literally, for any behavior or thinking pattern that you have, I don't belong, I'm an imposter, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not smart, whatever stupid stuff you say to yourself that you've been saying forever, it could be something tiny. I want to, the place to go if you can't figure out what the big thing is think of a moment from your childhood where you felt either left out, or you felt like an outsider, or you felt judged, or you just felt uncomfortable. That's it. Just something small like that. Like, when's the first time that you felt, wow, it's risky to put myself out there? There's a great example that was on Instagram from Patty when I was explaining this. And I want to read it to you because I think it's going to unlock something for you. This one, the What Happened to Me exercise, hit me to my very core. I remember being in 6th grade at a sock hop dance. I was having fun and dancing on the floor, and out of the corner of my eye, I see a group that are laughing and making fun of me. I stopped dead in my tracks and never wanted to dance again. I was devastated. 40 years later, I'm still terrified to get up and dance. Now, I love this story because it illustrates a point I'm trying to make. That things happen to us as we're growing up. And in order to endure them, survive them, process them, in our puny little brains, as 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, we make decisions. And those decisions that we make carry forward for the rest of our lives. So in Patty's example, she's talking about how she noticed a bunch of kids out of the corner of her eye making fun of her. And so she made a decision not to put herself out there. She hasn't danced since then. Still very hard to get on the dance floor because of that one incident. Now, you might not remember the only incident, but I guarantee you, once you sort of lock onto a theme, wow, I hate situations where I could be judged. Wow, I hate situations where somebody raises their voice. Wow, I hate situations where I have to take a test because I feel like I'm stupid. Wow, I hate situations where I have to speak up. Wow, I hate situations where I'm worried that I might disappoint somebody. Those kind of situations, once you start to realize, holy cow, this is a pattern, you're going to see evidence of it everywhere. And so, what I wrote to Patty is, you're right, this is the fear of being judged. That's the trigger. The trigger is any situation where you feel like you might get judged. Speaking up in a meeting, telling the person that made your cup of coffee that actually it was whole milk, not soy milk that you wanted, and them judging or rolling their eyes, like whatever it may be, the smallest things, it becomes a pattern. And then any situation that triggers that fear, boom, you go right into the pattern of silencing yourself. Any situation that triggers that fear starts to cause tingly sensations in your body. That's the beginning of anxiety. That's exactly the inquiry. So if you can't figure out, because there wasn't a traumatic incident or there wasn't a big thing, ask yourself, do I remember a time where I was judged? Do I remember a time where I felt really uncomfortable? Do I remember a time where I just felt excluded from the group? And that will give you a clue as to the things that are triggering you now. So here's a question, Trisha. Am I allowed to take a day off from being mindful after working a 17-hour shift? A coworker called in yesterday, and today I'm exhausted. Of course. I had a breakdown today, Trisha. It's a long, boring story, so I'll just summarize it. But I had a little mindset breakdown today in San Francisco. I've had like a 36-hour exhaustion cluster of a day. So yesterday I was headed to the airport in Boston in the morning, and when I got to the airport, I got a phone call from my son's school that he had just gone to the nurse and needed to come home. Now here's the issue. Aside from being a mom and hating to travel when my kids are sick or when my kids need me, my husband Chris was also out of town until the afternoon. And the person that we had in place to be our backup is a teacher. And so she was substitute teaching and could not pick him up. So luckily, I had the bandwidth to be able to change my flight, go home, and be with the kids all day. Kendall then came home. I was supposed to fly out last night at 6 o'clock. Like, it was breakdown after breakdown. The flight was delayed by 4 hours. I landed in San Francisco at 4:30 my time and didn't get to the hotel until 5 o'clock my time. I was absolutely spent. I woke up then and had a massive breakdown with a conference call and it was just one breakdown after another. It's also why I'm a little like flustered right now, because I'm like you, Trisha, exhausted. And there was a moment this morning, I was working on several hours of sleep and I was backstage at an event and I couldn't get on a conference call I needed to be on. And I literally could feel the tears coming. Now, this is not a good example of somebody who is leading a program to 200,000 people called Mindset Reset. I literally started to well up and cry out of exhaustion and frustration and the fact that I was letting people down because I had no Wi-Fi where I was, so I couldn't get on the call. Long story. I said I wasn't going to tell a story, but I'm tired, so I'm blabbing. And I was pretty down for probably, I'd say 35 minutes today. I kept trying to redirect my thoughts, but I was just tired and emotionally worn out and just feeling like I was disappointed by all the breakdowns. But the cool thing is that as soon as my tears welled up, that was sort of the emotional break that I needed. And I immediately just was able to use the tools that I'm talking about and I'm teaching to you, which is to recognize, okay, it doesn't serve me to get into a mindset where I'm beating myself up. It doesn't serve me to start getting upset. It doesn't serve the people that I need to go on stage and speak to. It doesn't serve the people with the call that I missed. And so the thing that you're going to notice is, yes, there are going to be days, Trisha, where you're exhausted. And that's why I keep saying that a mindset reset, it's not an event, you guys. It's a process. And it's a skill. And it's something you practice all day long. And there are going to be days that blow. And there are going to be negative things that happen to you. You're going to lose, for example, somebody that you love through an accident or through an illness, and you're going to be in grief. And that's going to impact your mindset in a profound way for months and months, and in many cases for the rest of your life. But what I can assure you, Trisha, is that even if you have a day where you're exhausted, like I have had, or you have months and months and months where you are recovering from the profound grief of losing somebody that you love, and you are learning how to move your life forward, these tools are going to be here for you so that you can come back to them. And there will be a moment, whether it is tomorrow, Trisha, after you catch up on your sleep and you feel a little bit more mentally rested, or it's months and months and months after a loved one passes and the fog that is grief and the avalanche of emotion that you live with starts to not disappear, because it doesn't disappear, but it starts to become more bearable. You'll have the space to come back to the things that you're learning in this program about how you can choose what you think about. And that's the power of it. Elizabeth, can you relate this to help with test anxiety? Absolutely. So here's the thing about test anxiety, everybody. There was a study done at Harvard Medical School where they explored test anxiety. And here's the simple trick that you can do. Now, number one, nothing will substitute for the fact that you need to prepare. So just because I'm giving you a trick that's backed by science, this will not work unless you prepared. So the best solution to deal with performance and test anxiety is to actually put in the time and study and prepare. Okay, that's number one. Because I don't care what tricks you know. If you show up to a test unprepared, it doesn't matter what tricks you're using because you don't know the material. So always, 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 always study, study, study. Interesting thing about that is that a lot of times anxiety about performance will cause you not to prepare, as crazy as that is. So make sure that you use these tools to force yourself to prepare ahead of time. The day of the test, you're simply going to visualize yourself walking out of the exam feeling hopeful and happy that you did a good job. So, and proud about how you prepared. And before the test, you're going to be saying to yourself, I'm really excited because I'm ready for this test. I'm really excited because I've been studying all semester. I'm really excited to get this test over. I'm really excited. And you're just going to kind of keep saying the I'm excited mantra, because what they learned at Harvard Business or Harvard Medical School is that when you simply say I'm excited before a situation that gives you performance anxiety, you not only take control of your thoughts, you settle your body, and you block the flow of cortisol to your prefrontal cortex, and that helps you maintain the executive center of your brain's ability to focus and to remember what you studied. So again, preparation is key. Make sure you prepare. Beforehand, just walk in and say, I'm really excited to take this because I prepared. I'm really excited to take this because I'm sick of studying and I'm ready to go. Something like that. All right, how can I manage financial worries with an anchor thought? Gio, excellent question. So how you manage them is I want you to forecast 2 years from now, and don't be thinking about a Lamborghini. Be thinking about something that is be thinking about a vision that is something that you believe that you can accomplish. Maybe you want to save up money to take the kids to Disney World. Maybe you want to save up money to be able to put down a down payment on your first house. Maybe you want to pay off your student loans. Maybe you want to pay off your credit card debt. Maybe you want to get $10,000 in savings. Whatever it may be, something that is achievable. So, not like you're drinking some sort of magic potion and suddenly you win the lottery, but something that's achievable through consistent effort. Think about 2 years out, and your anchor thoughts are all around how proud you're going to feel when you've achieved this goal. And the reason why you want to go, I'm really excited, so that for 2 years from now, when I can look at my bank account and see this, I'm really excited. I'm going to feel so proud of myself that 2 years from now, I can look back and see that I've done the work. And the reason why this anchor thought's so important is getting anxious and worried about your financial situation isn't going to help you. If worrying about it motivates you to get into action and be disciplined and take the consistent actions you need in order to change it, then worry. But for most of us, the worrying is counterproductive. What would be a lot better is to keep your attitude and your mindset positive and push yourself to continue to take the daily actions. Because let's face it, positive thinking alone is not going to change your financial situation. You must take action. I want your positive mindset to be an asset so that it helps you stay motivated to take action because you see where you're headed and you see why it's important for you to make that phone call you've been avoiding today. Not out of fear, not out of scarcity, but because you know that by making that phone call to advance your side hustle 2 years from now, you can visualize that you actually are going to have done the incremental work to make this thing happen. Ashley, what are anchor thoughts for fear of having panic attacks? When going to places, I get anxious that I'm going to have a panic attack once I'm there, which I know is making me have panic attacks. You're 1,000% right, Ashley. This is called anticipatory anxiety, and it means exactly what you said, Ashley. And I used to get this. I was so afraid of panic attacks that I would think about my fear of having a panic attack. And thinking about having a panic attack at the party tonight or at the sleepover tonight, it would make my stomach hurt. And then the second my stomach started gurgling and spinning because I was thinking bad things, I would use my stomach as evidence for the fact that it was happening. And that would make my thoughts even worse about it. And this is why anticipatory panic is a doozy. And so here's something that I want to say. I'm talking about generalized anxiety, like the low-grade stuff that a lot of us feel in our complicated day-to-day busy lives. When you start getting into anticipatory panic attacks, it's super important that you go talk to a therapist. It's super important if this is happening a lot and they recommend that you try medication, that you listen to your doctors. You can get yourself into such a hole. And I've done this with myself. My kids have done this. They've gotten themselves into such a hole that they could not dig themselves out of it because the fear that they might have a panic attack created a situation where they were constantly in a state of anxiety. And so the right meds, professional help, it's a lifesaver. Don't be a hero. That said, what you can do is you can create an anchor thought that is of you leaving the situation, like the party, and saying to yourself, wow, I'm so proud of myself. I didn't have a panic attack. I actually enjoyed myself. The second thing that you need to do, Ashley, and this is critical, is you have to understand. You have to, and I would beg you to rewatch video 13 and video 14. You have to understand the connection between your worries and your body. And you have to understand that just because you have butterflies, it doesn't mean you're having a panic attack. And just because your heart is racing, it doesn't mean you're having a panic attack. And just because you feel something funny in your throat, it doesn't mean you're having a panic attack. The problem is for you is that body sensations have become the trigger. And anytime, this happened to my son, anytime your body feels off, you're now triggered to think a panic attack is coming. And that is the thing you have to interrupt. And so I would try coming up with some kind of mantra, like it's not a panic attack. My stomach just feels like junk. It's not a panic attack. My throat's just itchy. I would try coming up with some sort of mantra to redirect yourself. And I would also visualize leaving the event, having not had one, and how proud you're going to feel. And the final thing that I would have is I would work with somebody professional to come up with sort of, this is your kind of plan B thing, where what is your list of criteria that allows you to call it a panic attack? Because I think that you're labeling things that are normal everyday experiences as anxiety, And that body sensation thing is triggering you in your mind to think it's a panic attack. I think that's part of the problem. So I think it's essential that you go talk to somebody and sort this out. Julie, how long often does one need to practice using anchor thoughts before it works well? Believe it or not, Julie, I think that in particular categories, like, for example, the fear of flying, it was about 3 weeks of using it, or 3 different flights that I used it on, rather, that basically made me convinced that it works. So I would say 3 or 4 times in the same category, you should notice that it's working immediately. If it's not, you probably have the wrong anchor thought, or your anxiety is too clinical and serious that you really need one-on-one professional help. But if you do the same anchor thought for the same situation 2 or 3 times, you should notice a significant exponential jump in your sense and level and feelings of control. And I've gotten so reprogrammed in my mind around flying, I don't even use an anchor thought when I get on a plane anymore. And if I start to feel nervous because it's severe turbulence, I come up with one and it works like a charm. Here's a shout out, Linda Wigren. I joined late, but you just got to the part about as a kid trying to fit into a group. It's my aha moment. I never actually fit in with any group until my 30s. This is not me being dramatic. It's simply the truth. I spent half of my life trying to find my tribe. I accidentally formed one as an adult. Thank you for helping me find this out about myself. It explains a lot. I love this example because I've realized I am not like a girl gang kind of person, and I used to beat myself up about it. You know, I look back on my high school years, my college years, my law school years, and I don't have these big posses of women and girls and relationships in my life. And I was never a major sorority person. I was never a big cliquey person. I have lots of friends, lots of acquaintances, lots of super close relationships during specific periods of time, but never that big posse thing. And I always used to say the same thing, like, I don't fit in. There's something wrong with me. And it's been extremely empowering to rewrite the story, which is I'm just not a big group person. I really prefer one-on-one interactions and smaller, intimate, deeper conversations than big, massive posses of people that are doing things. And that's okay. It doesn't mean anything's wrong. And that's the power of changing your story. So just to recap, what I want you to do is go through your trigger list, and I want you to write next to the things that trigger you to worry or the things that you worry about, I want you to come up with an anchor thought, something that's related to it, either something in the future, something in the past, a memory that's happy, that makes you excited, something you're excited to do, something you'd be proud of yourself for that you can go to in your mind and mentally anchor yourself on something exciting. This is a way for you to start to be preemptive about the things that trigger you. I can't remember, Danielle, can you remind me, what are we covering tomorrow? Because, specific. So again, we've covered the connection between worry and anxiety, the mind-body connection. We have covered the triggers and understanding that there are things, people, time of day, situations that trigger you to worry or trigger stress and anxiety in your body. And today, we have covered a technique where you're going to go through and look at the things that worry, trigger you, whatever, and come up with anchor thoughts. That is all I want you to do today. Of course, I want you to continue with your morning routine. It is so critical, and I want to go back to all of this. I can't remember what videos were when. Danielle, could you please send me the list in our text production link so I can tell everybody? But we've already covered so much material, and it's only day 15. We've talked all about the networks in your brain, the default way that you think. We've talked about why it's there and the filtering that your brain needs to do and why it's so important for you to reprogram the default network. We've talked about limiting beliefs. We've talked about how you think this, not that, so that you interrupt negative thoughts and limiting beliefs and you think something positive. We have hammered your morning routine because how you think begins when you wake up. And it's so important that you get very deliberate about what you do first thing in the morning, that you do not let the world in, that you do not look at your phone, that you find 10 to 30 lousy minutes for your dreams and for your mental health. And that means going through a process of planning your day. We covered this on, let's see. So I'm going to recap. So video 5 was a really important QA. And then videos 6 through videos 11. So videos 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, I walk you through the research behind the morning routine that I use and that I've taught to tens of thousands of people around the world. All of the information are in videos 6 through 11. You can find them if you go to our YouTube page. You can also get links to them if you go to melrobbins.com/mindset reset. Super critical material. So you should be every single night plugging your phone in outside your bedroom. You should be waking up and establishing that habit of your morning routine, waking up on time, taking the first 10 minutes to plan your day before you look at your phone, and other things that I walk you through in videos 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. And now we're talking about anxiety and anxiety week. And so starting tomorrow on day 16, we are going to be getting into specific anxieties and how they trigger you and specific anchor thoughts that you can use. And tomorrow we're going to be talking about time of day and how time of day is a massive trigger for people, whether it's the morning, whether it's the night, whatever it may be. We're going to be talking about the anxiety related to the time of day. This is game-changing stuff, so make sure you tune in. And in case nobody else tells you today, I want to make sure that I tell you that I love you and I believe in your ability to change your life for the better. I do. And that's why I'm here every single day sharing all the things that I'm learning, things that I struggle with, and the things that I have found to be remarkably helpful in my journey to win my own mental game and pursue my dreams. And so I think that is it. I hope you have an amazing night. I will be coming to you tomorrow, I think from Vegas. I think we're doing this a little bit later tomorrow, but whatever. I will see you at some point tomorrow. In the meantime, go have an incredible evening, incredible afternoon, incredible morning, wherever it is that you are watching from. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Mel Robbins, and this is Mindset Reset. Bye.